Hello again, basketball fans. I'm Rick Kamla, welcoming you to another edition of NBA Vault. This week, we remember one of the NBA's greatest teams of all time, the 1967 Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, it is their turn. And joining me to break them down and give you the historical perspective are hoop historians, Hall of Famer Gail Goodrich and Peter Vesey of the New York Post. I know you both love the 67 Sixers.
It's one of my favorite teams. They had such a great team, such great balance.
A lot of people say it's the best team ever.
Well, now, wait a minute. What about the 72 Lakers? I mean, come on.
They were a close second. But
You do hear that a lot, though.
No question.
Yeah,
and, you know, the three forwards that they used and the center, we got Wilt, Luke Jackson, Chet Walker, and Billy Cunningham. A lot of people will tell you that those four guys are the best four people up front in NBA history.
that I would agree with. Absolutely.
And maybe the only one that comes close are the 86 Celtics when you've got Bird, Parrish, McHale, and I believe Maxwell. Maybe not. Maybe Maxwell wasn't on that team.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I don't think he was on that team.
Luke Jackson, if he doesn't get hurt, I mean, this guy would have been a Hall of Fame player, without question. I mean, this guy was so good, 6'10". He could go outside and shoot the basketball 15, 18 feet out. He was a real power forward underneath. The only reason he didn't play center was because they had Wilt. He was a great, great player at the power forward position. Chet Walker.
Before it was called a power forward position. He was the first power forward.
Yeah, he was about 6'9", 6'10". Then you had Chet Walker at the small forward, who, I mean, he averaged about 19 points a game. And then you get Billy Cunningham coming off the bench at 18 points a game. This team averaged 125 points a game.
That's crazy. And just to clean it up, it was Bill Walton, not Cedric Maxwell, joining that big three in the front line of Boston, arguably the greatest front line of all time. But we need to give you a little bit of background on the 67 76ers. It was back in 1963 that the Syracuse Nationals moved to Philadelphia and became the 76ers. And the following season, they acquired the game's most dominant force, Wilt Chamberlain. But one thing had not changed. They still couldn't beat the Boston Celtics. In 1966, Alex Hannum took over as head coach, and we begin with Alex introducing us to his Sixers.
The thing that made this team so great, I think, was a natural maturing of the whole team together. We remember that I coached some of these players up in Syracuse. I coached against Wilt Chamberlain when he was down here in Philadelphia with the old Warriors. I coached Wilt Chamberlain out in San Francisco. Now I had the opportunity, when all of these players are back together again, maturing together, getting better year by year. And so I sum it up by saying that it's the natural maturing of this talent. This year, I was fortunate to take over a team that had the talent that allowed Wilt to play the style of ball he did this year. It was not necessary for him to score in order to win. It wasn't necessary for him to carry the whole load offensively. He had the type of talent to play with, and this gave me all kinds of weapons.
Al Greer, I think, is one of the three best middle-distance jump shooters in the history of the game of basketball. Al can hit that middle-distance jumper. He gives us offense at all times. Had, I believe, his greatest year this year. Luke Jackson, I believe, is capable of playing a great center position, but when you're playing on the same team with Wilt Chamberlain, you've got to adapt yourself to playing that forward position, which is exactly what Luke did. We had the most powerful, awesome side as far as rebounding and strength on the front line of any team in the history of professional basketball. Wally Jones, there were some question marks about Wally before the season started, but it didn't take him long to dispel any doubts about his being a great pro basketball player. When the blue chips were in the pot, he hit, and he hit consistently. Chet Walker, his great shooting, his great driving, his great defense, one of the truly great all-around ball players and cornermen in this game. Billy Cunningham has been known as instant offense. He became the 76ers' sixth man. He comes in cold, and he just tears the other team apart. When he's scoring and driving to the basket, which is his game, the name, the Kangaroo Kid, really tells the story, because this is exactly what he is, and he gives us that offensive punch that we need so many times to get us going when things get a little bit dull. Matty Guokas, in his first year as a pro, was of a question mark early in the year, but arrived much sooner than most of us thought he would.
Well, I would like to think that I had something to do with putting the whole thing together.
With that impressive cast, the Sixers went on an incredible run. They were 46-4 through the first 50 games that year. They averaged 125 points a game. They had 6 players in double figures, and one man who deserved a ton of credit, not only the coach, but also the general manager, Jack Ramsey, who later became a Hall of Fame coach. Let's talk about the job of the coaching staff and also the front office putting this wonderful team together.
Well, all the players, when I've spoken to Chet Walker earlier this week and Luke Jackson earlier this week, and they give the coach the utmost credit. They said he was the perfect guy for that team because of the strong personality of Wilt. You know, Wilt had to be reined in at times, but he had to be respected also. And they had their problems. There's no question that they had some pretty intense problems at half times of games where guys were asked to go outside and where guys had to be separated by peacemakers in the locker room. But then Alex knew how to identify with the players because he would go out with Wilt afterward and have a drink. And it was nothing personal. So Wilt definitely was able to buy into that.
Yeah, there's no question. And, you know, I of course, played with Wilt later on in his career, and he always spoke highly of Alex Hannum. I mean, he liked Alex.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, Alex would challenge him, but he'd always bring him back. Alex just really knew how to communicate with Wilt. And he liked Wilt. He knew what he could do. He knew how far he could really push him and then pull back and let Wilt really think that he won the argument. And he was a very, very good coach. And he was the leader of that team.
Talk about, I mean, the man won a championship with the St. Louis team before the Celtics went on their 8th straight championship run. And then he comes back and he beats them at the end of it with the Philadelphia team. He also won a championship in the ABA with the Oakland
Right.
Oaks. I mean, this man was one of the all-time great coaches and psychologists.
Well, you know, and that's one of the reasons why he's in the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Deservedly so. And coming up next, we're going to reflect on one of the NBA's classic rivalries, Bill Russell against Wilt Chamberlain. Does it get any better than that? Keep it here. It's NBA Ball.